Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be on dyes, coloring your soft plastics with dip-in type stuff like this JJ Magic, or Spike It as a product also. There's another one called Dye Safe. I'm not really affiliated with any of them. I also use some of these markers like chartreuse and orange and black. So this video is going to be about dyeing your soft plastic baits or adding color to your soft plastic baits, the how, when, and why that I do those things. If you follow my channel for any length of time, you know that I like to keep things simple, major on the majors and minor on the minors. So I really wouldn't dye my plastics unless I really felt like it made some sort of a difference. And over the years, I've really had a lot of evidence to show me that adding some color to certain soft plastics in certain situations definitely makes a difference. So that's why I do it. Before I get into that, I want to thank everyone for subscribing to my channel. And if you're watching this video and you like the content and you haven't already subscribed, I'm just going to ask you to please subscribe to my channel. I noticed that about 60%, a little over 60% of the people that view my videos don't actually subscribe to the channel. And it's really the best way to know when I'm putting videos out there, because then you can get a notification or it'll come up in your feed if you subscribe. So please hit the subscribe button if you like what you're seeing and you want to continue to see more of it. Hit the subscribe button. With that being said, let's get right into it. One of the things that I've noticed about people when it comes to using these types of dyes, specifically the ones in the jars, is they're concerned about spilling it in their boat. I can actually say that years and years ago, I actually did spill my dye in the carpet of my bass boat, and it freaked me out because I knew, I was like, this is just gonna be here forever. What I learned was there is actually a neutralizer that you can use to put it on it, and that'll help. But I also learned that over days on the water, it'll just fade out and then you won't even notice where it is. It'll actually come out after time. So the sun will bleach it out, it'll remedy itself. But I also have a way in which I use the dyes that has really helped me, and I haven't had any more instances where I've spilled these jars in my boat. So I wanna share that with you guys. So number one, when I'm using this stuff, I'm gonna take one hand and really hold onto the jar. And then I'm gonna place it on the carpet or the deck of my boat or any kind of flat surface in my boat. For example purposes, I'm gonna use my knee as the deck of the boat. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead, first off, I'm gonna just open it up, and sometimes they get jostled around from being on the water, so I'm just gonna tap the cap on the jar and make sure that none of it drips, because sometimes it'll spill out and different things like that. I'm gonna take my soft plastic bait, I'm going to dip it in there, however much you desire to, dye on the very end. I just usually like to tip it. I like to add a little bit of contrast. I don't really like to use a lot of it. And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it on the top of a tackle box, or if it's already rigged and I've got a hook in it, I'll throw it over the side of the boat. I've got this little napkin right here so that I can lay that down. And then I'm just gonna place the top on it. And by holding that jar the whole time, I mean, you minimize the ability to really spill the jar. You're just holding it upright the whole time. I find when you let go of the jar, that's when problems happen. You're hitting a wave, you knock it over, just unintentionally, things happen, and that's how the accidents happen. So holding onto the jar definitely helps me. A lot of guys will put them in plastic bags to help minimize that. But that's the process in which I use to dip my baits. So when do you dip your baits? Basically, I use 3 different colors: orange and chartreuse and sometimes black. Very minimal do I use black. And I'll go over the times in which I do that. With my jigs, I like to put a little orange on the tips of my chunks, and I'll just take that top off my marker and I'll just kind of touch it up just around the edges. And the reason I like the markers is because you can control where the actual dye is going to go on your plastic. And so I like the fact that I have more control about what I'm going to dye. And so when I want the dye to go in a specific spot on said plastic or trailer or whatever, I'm going to reach for the markers. And then when I want to just dye like a significant portion of the bait, like here's a June bug striking rodent, Sometimes I like to tip the ends of the appendages in chartreuse. So I just take it and dip it, and I shake it and I tap the sides, get the excess off so it's not dripping everywhere, and boom. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's easy peasy. And what I like about that is it really adds a contrast to the color. Specifically, if I'm fishing something like a green pumpkin and the bottom's dark, or I'm fishing something like a June bug and it's dark underneath the water and different things like that, that chartreuse helps to really light up things. It basically helps the bait to set apart from its surroundings, draws attention, gives the bass a target to kind of hone in on. So in dirtier water, I like some chartreuse, some dyes. Some stained water, same thing. Every now and again, I'll use it in clear water. So like this is candy craw, and I'll take it and I'll make like what I would think would be like a bluegill's tail. If you notice, like on a bluegill's tail, say this is a bluegill's tail, there's some sort of greenish, bluish right on the edge of it. And so what I'll do is I'll take my rodent and take my marker, because again, I'm using it on a specific spot, and I'm gonna run it. I'm just gonna run that marker right on the very edge of the tail. And then it gives it that appearance of like what you see when you see a bluegill in the water at a pond or a lake. And so basically it highlights the very edge like that. And I really feel like that looks pretty cool. And then I'll maybe I might hit just the very tips a little bit right there to give it a little bit more color. I think that really emulates a bluegill in a lot of ways. So even in some of the clear water situations, I'll do that. So when do I use black? The black, to me, emulates like baby bass. You have baby bass in the lake, and sometimes they'll eat the young of the year, the 3 and 4 inch baby bass. So taking a soft plastic jerkbait like this Strike King caffeine shad or fluke type bait, I can just take this marker and just color the very end of that caffeine shad, and you can see that really pops. I mean, the beautiful thing about black is it's such a stark contrast to the rest of the bait that it actually shows up, but it's not something bright like the orange that you have or chartreuse. It's something that looks natural, it stands out, it has a contrast, it's bold, but it looks natural, so it's not bright. So there's times when black does a great job of drawing the fish's attention to the bait. Other times I'm going with chartreuse. Say I'm throwing a soft plastic jerk bait around grass and this bait lays on that grass, that chartreuse will kind of pop, and the fish will see that color contrast, that movement in the water, and I feel like that can draw attention to my bait. Fish can kind of hone in on it and be able to really focus on the movement of that color, especially when the bait blends in with the surroundings. And the bait blending in with the surroundings is a good thing, because a lot of times when fish have a hard time making out the actual silhouette, they see the movement and strike the movement. So you give them a little bit of color and boom, you can transfer that interest into a strike. And so I definitely think there's some times when that kind of stuff really works out. So those are the ways in which I use dyes. I kind of keep it simple: your chartreuse, your orange, your black, and use them as an accent to draw a fish's attention to the bait. I feel like bass are such visual feeders, so when I can make it easier for them to find my bait in the water, I can transfer interest into a strike. I know this really isn't new in the world of bass fishing, but I know some guys don't take the time to do the little things that make a difference at times. So I wanted to share that little bit of information with you guys. Drop a comment in the comment section, share it on your social platforms. That really helps me grow my channel, gets the word out that I'm doing these videos, and people can pick up on the stuff that I have out there. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, good fishing.